Wait, what's up with this? But I'm listening to the
Good morning, everyone. I think it's so early on a Saturday morning, and to start with a presentation about the heart of the school that's missing, I think it is such a sensitive topic. But during the last few months, especially as we moved on during the lockdown process, I became very aware that as a creative arts teacher, suddenly the school is a very lonely place where I walk because I don't hear all the sounds. It's not only the sounds, I think I miss that community so much that somewhere there was a huge need for me to go and find something that I could link and that I could just get that drive to move forward and to keep on moving every day, even if we try to cut content down. Those things became very important and also very relevant in the lives of creative arts educators during the last few months. And I think that brought me to this topic of what the school is missing. Now, someone asked me yesterday, why did we decide on a topic like this? I think this one is very open and it will allow you actually a lot of time to put yourself forward and to actually make it your own and to take the topic on board and to live with that and see how are we going to reposition ourselves moving forward from here. I also think what was very important for me during the process of lockdown, especially during the level 5 restrictions, was to find somewhere a community of like-minded people that could share. Because I stopped thinking about stuff. I've realized we're not going to present the same way we've moved forward up till then. And somewhere I had to find people thinking exactly like me. I think also the heart of the school that's missing. It's very dangerous for us at this stage to think if we're not delivering content from the arts point of view, so that there is for every child in the school a place where they can voice, where they can feel, where they can join. And that is what we need to bring back. I think there's also a great urgency to bring that back currently. Now, yeah, today's session is not there to provide you with shortcuts. I promise you there is no shortcuts for this. This is a work in progress as we move along as creative arts educators. I would like to reflect today in this session to see how are we bracing ourselves, how are we putting ourselves in the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of the problem. Are we getting the solutions? Are we actually part of the problem itself? Yes, and that is a very sensitive moment. But sometimes I think, and I always reflect back to myself, sometimes I can place myself right in that middle of the problem and think I will be the solution. Actually, I'm just making the problem so much bigger. So we're going to move to the second slide. And as I said to you, today is going to be reflecting a lot about where we are and how we're going to move forward. So the second slide, I've added there a quote for us. And I think I would like you just to use some time and read and reflect. And I'm also going to read it for you. But it's saying to us, music education open doors that help children pass from school into the world around them. A world of work, culture, intellectual activity, and human involvement. The future of our nation depends on providing our children with a complete education that includes music. Now, yes, that I think is the most powerful statement. But as you know, with every powerful statement that we're dealing with, there's also a lot of responsibility coming along. And that is where I want to take us today to get to that point where we realize if we read this type of quotes, and yes, social media platforms are filled with this, there's a lot of expectations on what we deliver, how we deliver, and also that we want to ensure that we touch the heart of every child in every school around us. So I think as creative arts educators, we are very familiar by using these type of quotes to strengthen our case. But sometimes there's a need for us to go home, to look and think, yes, I promote the quote. Am I actually living the quote? Am I moving it? Am I dreaming it? If I'm in my car, is it still there? I think if it becomes part of what we are and we live through this experience of the quote, it will be so much easier for us to deliver the content that will have an impact on everyone around us. And of course, that we will take up the responsibility of something like this and to make sure this becomes the mission in which we live forward, in which we provide learning to learners. Then, in general, I will move fast now to the point of what is the benefits of singing. And I would not love today to actually stop for a lot to stand on this because everyone can Google, of course, the benefits of singing. And I think there's also in social media a lot to be said about this. A lot of people are aware of that. Whether they want to take it on, yes, that's a different game and all. But if we look at the 5 biggest benefits of singing in the classroom, in the school, I think we think about the social benefits. Yes, we all need to interact. That is a very crucial point for us, and especially for young people. I think if it comes to the physical benefits of that, that's very obvious for us. The psychological part is that moment that everyone needs to communicate in some or other form. Some people are very fluent to do that. Some people find it more difficult. Some children experience a lot of problems as we move forward with this. And I think what happened during this last few months, those that always had a problem to communicate, the problem became so much bigger. But then the last two benefits will always be to say there's the educational benefit of what we want to get right in our schools by using singing as the medium, and then also, of course, the musical development that will happen. In other words, that a child will develop the musical activity or that will develop the skill by being part of this musical activity. And you will see the last question I've posted there at the bottom of that slide is just to say, how do we get there? And that is what I said to you right in the beginning. I wish it was possible for me today to provide you with a guideline to say, please follow this 5 steps on Monday morning, and you will have the success at the end of next week. Clearly, that's not going to be the case. I think, like we said also in the beginning, is to create a community of like-minded people that we can gather on platforms like this, like the conference itself, and start sharing. I don't know why, over the last few months, the sharing just became very crucial in all our lives. And I would like to think that we will continue with sharing as we move forward. I'm going to move on now to say, how do we get from here? And can I just make you aware that every single example I'm going to share today is not coming from a point that I know it all. I think it's also not coming from a point that I'm working in a more privileged environment. I think what I would like to say is, there's the time for us to go back to basics. You know, before we went into COVID in 2020, we all were dreaming big dreams. It stopped at one morning, suddenly there was nothing. Music-wise, very little. Yesterday, I've got very emotional reading in some of the chats. Our people are saying they're missing their choirs. I can tell you, over the last 15 years, choir became my medium of communication to the world. I've lost my own medium of communicating. And I think it was so important to find it somewhere. And that slide that you see in front of you now, I was afraid to use the image of a choir singing because clearly I do not want people to think it's only the choir that can do the work. I want to promote singing for every child in the school. But the phrase at the bottom is saying, let us never underestimate the power and magic of being in sync. I'm going to repeat that. Let us never underestimate the power and the magic of that moments when we are in sync. And that is what we get with singing, not only in choir, singing as a school. If we put singing at the core of everything we do in the school, that is when we get that creative moments and that magic of syncing together. If everyone is breathing at the same time, if everyone is feeling the emotion of the word at the same time. And a bit later on, I will also just put a bit of attention, a bit of light on what we do with words when it travels and how we move forward from there. I think for me, it was very much evident that I actually need to go back to basics, very much basics, and to find the solution. Somewhere we had to find solutions, but clearly when I took that solutions back to my office, I've realized I need to customize. There's nothing nowhere published that's going to work in my specific environment. There's nothing published that's going to work in your specific environment. And it is that moment of customizing when there's really the creativity coming at play and that you know your clientele very well and that you want to serve them to the best of your ability and that you will move on from there. So if I can leave you with one big message this morning, is to say, please do not try to find the solution that's printed in publications out there. Try to find stuff that you can actually pull yourself into and that you will customize to make it work for you, for your clientele, for the environment that you serve. Only then, when we get to that customization, I think it's possible to say there's that magic of the art of exposure. Yes, as a creative arts educator, it's very easy to think we like to expose our work because that is how people will see the success of our programs, etc., etc. For some of us, the art of exposure is lying in excelling and showcasing the individual programs of instrumentation in our schools. I think there's much more to that That's when every child in the school can become part of that. Doesn't matter about the music ability. That is something we developed during the course of the years in the primary school. But the art of exposure is saying something completely different to me and in my world. I think over years you learn that skill, that it is about that very precise thing that you use, that you put on a platform, that you expose to a very specific group. Clearly, you're not going to take whatever we do in a class music and put that up on the stage where people are competing for International Choral Award. But there is a place for that exposure if you create it within your own environment. And that is what we will need to do once we get back after everything that lockdown brought to the table. The art of exposure is to be very careful that we don't set ourselves up for failure as well. The moment we start striving for things that's very far up, that we want to dream about, that's not always where the art of exposure is lying. The art of exposure for me is lying in that basic things that we do in our programs, and that you take it, you polish it a bit, you put the spotlight on it, you build it up bigger in order to become a whole school drive. And that is when you start getting the power back to the creative arts. I think what you see in the slide now, yeah, every school is singing school. And then even more cheeky, I would say from my side, is to say a singing school is a successful school. Now, yes, now I need everyone to jump into that chat room and to start saying to me, do you believe that the singing school is a successful school? Yes. I don't want you to go pull out the research, because clearly there's going to be research that will tell you this will be possible. But I want to say to you today, if you get it right, to go and customize what your audience, your parent community is in need of, and you build this up, I can tell you today, that school, the school that you work in, that you serve, the community that you serve, will say, this is a successful environment. And that is what we all want to hear at this stage. We all strive to find somewhere that bit of success. Every child finds that bit of success somewhere. Why don't we, as the creative arts teachers, just use the opportunity, climb onto this bandwagon and say, we want to ensure that our school is a successful school. We want to ensure that everyone is believing that. And people are not going to believe that if we come in from the angle that we want to strive for things that's not at this stage achievable. I would also think that this stage has been very important for me to say, as the creative arts departments in the school, we can play an extremely important role of creating success in our schools. But how do we see ourselves in this whole picture? Are we the type of people, and I'm talking myself again here first, that will take the negative moment about the fact that I only get 30 minutes a week to work with a group, and then for months I brew on this and I make this the most negative experience. I actually don't want to think creative anymore, because what is the need of that? I only get 30 minutes a week. How can people expect me to get to actually provide quality education? And that is where your magic will lie. The fact that we all got the ability to go back home and to say to ourselves, we've received this on a plate. It's maybe not the food that you like currently. It's maybe not the dish that you would prefer currently. But yes, you can use it, because at the end of the day, you can customize and build around that to make it work for that specific community. And yes, I do not think it's our place to take these opportunities away. I also think we mustn't stand in the passage complaining about time, but how do we portray ourselves and our energy if we walk through the passage? What's the experience of your principal when you walk down the passage? Is he seeing you or seeing her as someone that's always sitting in meetings ready to complain about the lack of time? Do they see you as that person that will take the opportunity to think, I'm going to grab this, even 5 minutes, I need to do this, to market the arts, I need to drive the arts in our schools. And that is so important, that you take it always back to yourself to say, what is the impressions that I leave when I walk? You know, with children, it's wonderful to see, because they do not hide things away. And sometimes you need to put another jacket on. Last week, I walked through our passages, and I don't work with our younger children a lot. They also do not know me very well. But it was very interesting. As I moved towards the great art department and they were in art classes. They will walk past me on the way to the bathroom. They do not know my surname. They do not refer to Mr. Marais. But what they will do is they will greet me by saying, "This is the music man." Now, yeah, I don't think I've ever catered to have that jacket on as being the music man. I would have loved to have my own identity at all times. But in my school, that is the role that I took over. They identify music, they identify singing with the music man. And you know what? That is my success. To think that is the group that I've impacted on and that will forever be a part of what I will do. And then I don't mind being referred to as the music man in the school. I think it is to make it as alive and well as possible for everyone. We're going to move on to our next slide now. And I want to take you back just to the maths. There is such a lot to be said about the correlation between music and maths. Why don't we use it more in our favor to promote the arts? Music, the literacy component. Music as a science. You know, we always strive to get to integrated learning. I think we strive to get that approach of incorporating other things, but then we've got always the lack of time on the other side. So clearly, we need to get to that moment where we will use every single opportunity to bring these things across. And then it's just asking you to be very strategic about what you do. Whenever you present something, try to find even 2 words and put that into context as part of the drive to ensure that arts will be recognized, arts will be respected in your school. And then on the next slide, you will see it's just saying to us, if we do this, there's no need for us to worry about these things. You will see also saying there, everything else, that look back at the results. There's such a lot of results being published over these last few months about the impact of the arts, the value of singing in our schools. I think we do not need to fight that battle anymore. We actually just need to remember, if we use these examples to promote, there's also a lot of responsibility on us to ensure we live this art and what we do. And I want to get to that point where we want to sing, we want to use opportunities. And what you see in front of your screen currently is just, even in a fortunate environment, with 16 specialist teachers on a team working with you, I can tell you today, that's not the easy way out. The easy way out is not to say, well, I'm a generalist, I do not know how to do that. I can tell you, if you switch on that one creativity knob, you're going to get somewhere and you're going to build it up. And it's always one step at a time. What you will see on the screen, of course, is just a list of projects. And that is referring back to my own context and my own work, what I do at the school that I am teaching at. And I started there. Over the years, we've just realized, even with all the specialists on board, we still only got X amount of time to get the message across. There was need for more. How do we get to more? You get to more if you start thinking out of the box. You get to more if you start using every opportunity. And you know what? To blow it up. Blow it bigger, bold. That is how we will get the respect for the arts. So in 2015, we've realized it's not enough that we provide content, creative arts in our school. We want to create a movement towards the arts. So we started, even before Google did it in 2015, we did a Google Day, a Doodle Day. And the entire school started doodling, and that was a very small start, getting to doodle. And of course, we built it in all the components of the arts. At the end of the day, there was singing, there was a lot doing the programs going on, but that was only a one-day celebration. The success of that, the fact that it was possible for us to bring our parent community into the school for that day, that created just a new chapter in our world of creative arts at our school. And of course, then it just started booming. The ideas just start booming. But to be relevant, more important than ever. The fact that we work with young people, so much more important to be trendy, to be on top of our game, to use the language. And sometimes we don't like to do it. But you know what? It's most rewardable to put your own ideas behind and say, I need to promote what children like to hear. I want to talk the language that they want to use. And if I'm not accustomed to that, I better find ways to get it. So the next project that was listed there is just culture at RGGS. That was a year when we devoted the entire week at the end of the second term. We stopped our timetable, we stopped teaching in general, but the Creative Arts Department put a complete week program on the table, filled with activities from early in the morning after closing of school. We took it further into the evenings with programs. And then, of course, at the end of that week, on the Friday, we closed down with a family event where the whole parent community came on board with their girls, and we all had activities together. And then it just went out of context after that. And the dreams became bigger and more excited. So you will see there's a thing listed, #culture, a festival of imagination. And I've mentioned to you before, I've mentioned right in the beginning to you, that if we don't eat, sleep, dream, drive, these things, we don't get there. I remember very well, I came back from a trip in the UK, and at the airport there was one of these sales of books, and I saw this publication called This Is Not a Book, about how to stimulate the imagination. I took it back to school and I suddenly realized this is the project for that year. #culture, a festival of imagination. So we stopped once again, timetable for a week. We went on, and the girls had activities, they had activities to complete, and everything was based around how to stimulate that imagination in children. Then we went to a MAD festival, well, that's just the abbreviation for music, art, dance, and drama. And now we are moving towards value teaching, reconnecting and inspiring girls was the following year. And then we went to Girl Talk. We created a platform for the arts where the girls could communicate openly for a week about that with no constraints about that. This year, we are very fortunate that we've decided to do The Magic Happens Here. Yes, also linked with 4 values. And I'm going to show you now 2 slides just quickly about how we use this thing to be trendy for children. It's nothing to have a topic. I think it's to go into that concept of branding everything that's happening in the school for the entire year towards this mission. So yes, we started branding buildings, and then there's a lot to do about the values that we want to incorporate around the arts for that specific year. You will see that's coming up on your screen as well now. So the last one was The Magic Happens Here, and you will see there again, that's the current one for this year. That's also linked to 4 values and that we built in. But once again, I want you to take from this picture, there's only one thing. That's the importance of branding the arts and pushing it up through the entire school community where everyone can see, everyone can hear. I'm now close to close down, but I would not be successful if I don't share a video with you. I want you to listen to a very short clip of a video, and afterwards, I will just spread myself a bit about what's going to happen there. There was quickly a slide now. If you can walk, you can dance, and if you can talk, you can sing. Please take that forward from today. Go back into school on Monday. Remember, if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. I want you to listen to this clip quickly, and then we will have just a quick close down around that. I think what came out of this video clip is so important with the art of exposure. Some of that material that you see now, we will not expose on the international stage when we compete. But yes, for our parent community, I think it's so important that they get these experiences and that we get children to buy in with that. Using every opportunity to teach, to integrate. If we use a song, I can sing, you can sing, we can sing, we can teach the world to sing. It's very important that the generalists will get to that point where we just go through text. And that is where the connection will lie. That people must learn, and children must learn, with everything we use, sing words. A word must travel somewhere. If I want to sing high, my voice will do something. If I want to sing low, something will happen. Deep, there's another connection. Happy, there's another connection. Sad, it's another connection. If we start teaching singing with the understanding of the text, you're going to help the teacher in the language class automatically. In integration without sitting for 2 hours to plan for that is going to happen. And I think that is the point that lots of us and myself will miss, is that there's that small things that I need to take to make the teaching effective. I need to teach a child that if you sing, there's certain emotions connected to a word. But when you go back to the class and you need to do your oral presentation, apply the same connections. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity this morning to listen to me. I would think that last quote that's on the screen today is the moment for us all to take on. We all have the dreams, something we want to achieve. It's not only about ourselves. It's also not only about others. Most importantly, I think, at this stage in the arts, it's about community. I hope we can form a like-minded community to take this further. Thank you very much. So now I want to say to you, there's going to be still moments of after this. I just need to hear quickly from our one presenter about what we need to promote now at this stage.
So this will finish. People can go on to workshop 10, workshop 11 or 12. So it's how to use dramatic skills.
Okay. So yes, the next 3 sessions are going to be the same way we've run this, where you can go back to your agenda, you click on the session you would like to follow, and there's going to be 3 sessions that you will get to now. I think the first session is taking the drama into everyday life. So that is where the interest will lie, that you will follow that. Then, and I can't read the small print at this stage, so I will need to actually put the glasses on.
Value-added assessments.
There's the value-added assessments that I think is very, very hectic at this stage for all of us. And then the last
teaching
one.
arts and entrepreneurship.
Teaching arts and us entrepreneurial skill and bringing actually art consumers to life at a very young age. Thank you so much for this experience. I hope you will join us as the hashtag Singing School group that's going to start a new movement in the country to get our schools singing. Thank you very much.
Jump on the next one.